Americans for Prosperity Foundation Defending the American Dream Summit. Over 2,000 of you grassroots activists from all across this great country converging on Washington, D.C., and we've got a pretty simple message for this government, don't we? Let's cut spending and get within your means and tighten your belt like every business and every family in this country's had to do. Is that right? That's the message we're delivering. Now, many of you have traveled long distances to be with us today, and I want to thank you on behalf of the foundation for that. I saw Dallas Woodhouse, our AFP North Carolina State Director, and the buses from North Carolina are here. Is that right? And this morning I heard a commotion at the hotel, and I ran to a whole bunch of Okies from Oklahoma. Where are you guys? And then I talked to folks who literally just finished an 8 to 10 hour bus ride from the great state of Michigan. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. All of you have stories to tell, and we're the organization that helps you tell them. You know, days like today bring to reality the vision our board had many years ago in founding our predecessor organization, Citizens for a Sound Economy, and then Americans for Prosperity Foundation. They envisioned a genuine grassroots movement, state-based but national in scope, with literally millions of American citizens from all walks of life standing up and fighting for the economic freedoms, the very freedoms that have made our country the most prosperous in the history of the world. From day one, our Americans for Prosperity Foundation team has been blessed with a chairman of integrity and a deep love of freedom. David Koch, on behalf of our foundation and Americans who love freedom, thank you for all you do. And we're proud to have you as our chairman. Now, in just a few moments, you're going to hear from two leading contenders for president, Herman Cain and Mitt Romney. Then you're going to hear from America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Tonight at our Reagan dinner, and by the way, as the years pass, doesn't President Ronald Reagan look better and better? His accomplishments and dreams and hopes. But tonight at the Reagan dinner, you're going to hear from the judge, Judge Napolitano from Fox News. And Dinesh D'Souza, one of my favorite authors about Reagan. And tomorrow, you've got to come back for our Cut Spending Now effort and rally. You're going to hear from Andrew Breitbart, John Budd, and the great one himself, Mark Levin. Now, there is one disappointment this weekend. And it's troubling. Hurtful, actually. We invited President Obama. No, we did. We did. Certified letter. Absolutely. White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We wanted to give the president the opportunity to explain the billions of our tax dollars he's wasting on green energy boondoggles in pursuit of his global warming ideology. We wanted to explain that. We wanted him to explain how these tax dollars for these boondoggles, and I know this is just a mistake, a dumb accounting thing, they always seem to end up in the hands of favored friends and donors. We wanted him the opportunity to explain that. We wanted to give him the opportunity to explain why he wants to raise taxes, why he wants yet another wasteful stimulus program, why his EPA continues to wipe out literally tens of thousands of jobs in the private sector with these regulations and red tape. But alas, we won't be hearing from the president because he turned us down. Very disappointing. But Mr. President, we do have a message for you. We may not hear from you today, but trust us, you're going to hear from us. You're going to hear from us this weekend. You're going to hear from us next weekend, and you're certainly going to hear from every one of us across America in 2012. Now, in recent weeks, we've seen the left working to rejuvenate itself at the grassroots, using this Occupy Wall Street movement. And I mean this sincerely. I welcome this development. I do, and I'm not being facetious. Here's why. The Occupy Wall Street movement offers our nation a crystal clear choice between what the radical left's vision is for this nation and what AFP Foundation and our Tea Party allies, what our vision is for this nation, right? When it comes to the economy. They possess a vehement hatred of free enterprise and capitalism. It drips from every word and every statement. They openly call for socialism, and they disparage job creators. At Americans for Prosperity Foundation, we know the truth. Free enterprise has lifted more people out of the muck and mire of poverty and despair than any other system known to man. In fact, we know that free enterprise has actually given these Occupy Wall Street folks the means to hold the protest in the most prosperous country in the world today. Often, the Occupy Wall Street movement has even called for and resulted in violence. They break the law. They disrespect the rights of property owners and their fellow Americans. I can tell you this at Americans for Prosperity Foundation and with our Tea Party allies. We want to genuinely bring change to this country. We want to reform government, but we do so with the respect for the rule of law in this great land of ours. And there's one last crucial difference. The Occupy Wall Street movement and the far left is based on anger and envy. They want to use the government to tear down fellow Americans to suit their radical ideological agenda. Their calling card we've seen. It's class warfare and unrestrained envy. At Americans for Prosperity Foundation, we know something they apparently don't know. Americans are not an envious people. Americans are an aspirational people. They aspire to a better life, and they're willing to work for it and to fight for it without tearing down fellow citizens. Now, there are those who tell us today we cannot change the direction of our nation. There are those pundits on the media sometimes who say that big government and big spending and high unemployment and job-killing regulations and ever-spiraling deficits and debt are here to stay. That the national failure and default we're watching in Greece is our fate. But those who say such things do not know you in this room and your commitment to freedom. They don't know the millions of Americans just like all of us. Americans I've met from Shelton, Washington to Jacksonville, Florida, who are willing to work and sacrifice their time and treasure to bring economic freedom and prosperity back to our nation. Those who forecast our inevitable decline do not know the spirit of America and the fight that you're willing to undertake. This past July 4th, I left an event late in the afternoon in eastern Pennsylvania, and I drove to my home in Leesburg, Virginia. And as I was driving through southeastern Pennsylvania, I entered a small town that many of you may have heard of. It's called Gettysburg. And I thought how appropriate on Independence Day to be driving through a town with so much sacrifice and valor. And as I was driving through, I noticed in a large field a July 4th celebration taking place. And you've seen those, you probably participated in it. Big field, music playing, I think it was Lee Greenwood, God Bless the USA, no surprise there, a great song. I won't sing it for you, don't worry. And I had to stop. I did. I pulled over and I watched that fireworks display, this iconic American vision. And I got back in my car, and it was after dark now, and as I drove the last 45 minutes or so to Leesburg, I could see on the horizon in all directions little pops from the fireworks taking place as small towns across southern Maryland by then and western Maryland and western Virginia were holding their own July 4th celebrations. And I thought back to the most inspiring dinner of my life. It occurred about 3 years ago in Manhattan. It was a dinner honoring the living recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Over 24 of these men. At my table that night was a short, stocky veteran who had been honored for his gallantry at Iwo Jima. Remember the movie We Were Soldiers, or the book We Were Soldiers? If you read that or see that movie, Too Tall, the helicopter pilot, was just a few tables over. He had been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was too tall. How he flew a helicopter, I'll never know. That night, it was humbling to look around the room, to hear the stories of these men, to see the humility of these individuals. That's what shined through the brightest. After the dinner, most of the crowd had left, and I looked over, and there was one last Congressional Medal of Honor honoree in the room that I could see. He had the medal pulled tightly around his neck, as it usually is worn. I walked over to him. He was a big, strapping gentleman, a shock of silver hair and blue eyes that were still vibrant, looked like the eyes of a 25-year-old. He had been honored with the Congressional Medal of Honor. He landed with the second wave at Omaha, but he was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on the second day after D-Day. And I walked over and I said, "Sir, thank you for your service." And I'll never forget what he said to me. He looked me in the eye and he said, "Son, they gave me that medal for something I did on one day. But what I'm most proud of is that every day for almost a year, me and my buddies fought hard across France, and then we fought hard into Germany. And when I look back, that's what I'm most proud of. We didn't take days off. We fought hard every day." And I walked out. I walked out into the crisp spring air of a Manhattan evening with those words ringing in my ears. We worked hard and we fought hard every day. And look, I would never compare what we do in the public policy arena to that. Their sacrifice is beyond anything. But the principle is the same. I don't know if we've got 10 days, 10 hours, 10 years, 20 years, and the truth is none of us know. But I want to be able to look back one day and with assuredness look into the eyes of my children and hopefully one day grandchildren and say, "Guys, I did everything I could. I fought hard every day to make our nation the freest and most prosperous in the country." I know that's the commitment you share, and thank you for being part of this foundation dinner today.